Welcome guys, I'm Oscar, founder and owner of Taranaterium, and welcome to Taranaterium. I have been kind of putting off the YouTube video thing off for a while, but considering how many of you guys have asked us at the expos, I figured I'd go ahead and do them now, solely because the information at the end of the day is what is important. So, the fact that I don't have the lighting or the sound equipment that I would like to have really doesn't mean much. Plus, a wise man did once say, if you're not embarrassed about how you started, then you started too late. So, that out of the way, I just kind of figured we just start off telling you guys a little bit about what we do, and a little introduction into some of the animals, give you guys a couple of feedings, and kind of some of the advice you guys might need, or try to answer some of the questions you guys have had when it comes to the care of some of these animals. So we're going to start right here with a beautiful pied. She's a ball python, or he is a ball python. Pied morph, normal pied. But these are some beautiful morphs. This is one beautiful snake in my opinion. The camera probably won't do it justice. It's kind of why I've been putting these videos off. I wanted better lighting and video equipment for this. But, again, it's about the information at the end of the day. So if the quality's not the best, it's not the worst thing in the world. But you want to try to make sure that you keep their humidity up for ball pythons. Try to give them plenty of clutter and a couple of hides. You usually want to give them a good moist hide. I usually use this butter container. Obviously it's the only thing in there that I didn't go out and purchase at a store, just because I figured it'd be a lot easier to stuff it with sphagnum moss, keep it moist, and give it a good amount of space. This is more so for like a dry hide. I usually want to put a little more clutter than I do here. This is just kind of like a display enclosure for the video that I put him in. I have another bigger enclosure that he normally stays in. This is more so just for an aesthetic view, for you guys to be able to kind of get an idea on what the enclosure should look like. For the substrate, I usually go with some Reptibark. Usually want to go at about 3 to 4 inches depending on the size. And for these snakes, rule of thumb is when it comes to feeding, usually feed them about once a week. It's not the end of the world if they don't eat 1 week. Adults will usually do that. The younger specimens, so you eat a little closer together, about 4 or 5 days, it'll be fine. And you usually want to feed them something a little bit thicker than the thickest part of their body. Just so when they swallow the mouse and you get to see this little lump, it'll be a good way to tell that you fed them a proper size. But now we're going to be moving on to some of the other specimens. I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible. That way, you guys get a good idea on what we have. Well, mind you, at the end of the day, we are tarantula experts. That is what we're ending it with. I just figured I'd start off with some of the other stuff we do hope to breed down the line. Now this right here is a crested gecko. These guys are more arboreal. They're from New Caledonia, as well as the next species we'll be covering. But these guys are pretty easy to maintain, believe it or not. They're very arboreal. They're insectivores as well as herbivores. They tend to eat a lot of fruits, and they come in a very wide variety of morphs. They're very beautiful creatures, and they don't require really too much special heating or light. Usually about 70 degrees to 80 degrees is really fine. You don't need anything really specific for them. Just make, usually what we do for these guys is the same as the next species that we'll be covering. We'll feed them Pangea. There's all sorts of different kinds of mixes for it, And right now I do want to give you guys a good idea on how we do this. That way you can get a visual. But it usually just comes in powder form. Nothing too crazy. Look something like that. I actually just put a little bit in there a little earlier before the video. That's why you could tell there's some goop in there. But it's usually powder form. A little bit of water, about the same amount as you would the powder, and it'll even out depending on how pasty you want it. More water, it'll be more liquidy. More powder, it'll be a little pastier. It's almost like a yogurt. Ignore the background noises. We have a lot of animals running around right now. Cats like to open and close doors. But yeah, this is usually what you'll end up with, something kind of like this. You can get it a little pastier if you'd like, you know, but that is usually pretty fine. What I usually do is you could try to feed them like this, or you could just set it down up in a high area. What I like to do though is I like to like spritz it down on some of the leaves I have on here, and they'll just lick it right off the leaves. But these are the cresteds. You could tell them apart by those beautiful eyelashes they have, and they have like this crest around their noggin that looks pretty amazing. And they're just a beautiful species. Now, moving on to our next specimen, which is really beautiful. I just got this last expo we went to. I've been meaning to get into the gargoyles, and it's just one phenomenal looking creature. And again, this is also one of those temporary enclosures. I do want to set them up in something bigger. This is another just easy to display enclosure. But these look amazing, and they fire up very gorgeously. This right now is all white. When it fires up, it's got some very dark colors, very gray with some oranges and reddish. And the eyes got this nice little golden rim to it. They're very beautiful, and they're very hardy creatures. Actually, a lot more hardy than the crested geckos, the one you saw right before this. Those guys can drop their tail, but they won't grow it back. These will grow their tail back when they lose it. And it's just beautiful because they have an amazing tail, and they're just gorgeous all around. They get the name gargoyle from these little horns they get up top. They're also from New Caledonia. They're just amazing all around. They're beautiful, especially when they fire up. They have these distinguished characteristics. You know, this one looks mostly white, but it just completely darkens out when it fires up, and it's beautiful. There's some other morphs. The reds are phenomenal. I actually would love to get my hands on one of those. I'll probably be grabbing one off one of my buddies soon, but that's for another video, another story, another day. And like I said, with these guys, you know, Pangea mix. These guys are more so just strictly Pangea. Others will, which actually, see if I can get this guy to get on camera real quick, just so you guys can get a quick idea. Now come back out, buddy. That's a good boy. Which actually, I don't even know if it's a boy or girl yet. Oh, right, perfect, right there. Wanna have some of this? It's food. Yeah. Let's try this. Come on. No? Alright. Maybe next video. Alright, now give me like 2 seconds. Got a little bit of the Pangea on my hand. Make sure I get it off. And we're moving on to the first thing that got us into the exotic animal hobby, which would be the tarantulas. Now this right here is very popular in the hobby, and it's a great beginner species in my opinion, and I think a lot of other people's. But this is the Grammostola pulchra, also known as the Brazilian black. They're very docile creatures. They're known as the black Labradors, the tarantula hobby. Let me see if I can get this girl to come out. She's normally very willing. Yeah, they're very docile creatures. Now, I normally wouldn't recommend, obviously, handling tarantulas. Not really for our safety, but more so for theirs. But she is one of those that is very open to it. As long as you know what you're doing, it can be done. Again, though, I wouldn't really recommend it. This is more so. Alright, I think I'm gonna just leave her be. I don't want to stress her out too much. It's more so though for the tarantula safety, like I said. You know, you don't want to stress them out. You'll be fine. They, on the other hand, are very delicate creatures. A fall can cause a lot of damage from a high height, especially the terrestrial tarantulas, because their abdomens are a lot more fragile. The arboreal ones tend to have a little bit of a more, say, hardy abdomen when it comes to a fall. Although that probably has a lot to do with the fact that they are arboreal, but even they can still have their own issues. Now right here we have another great beginner. A little more of an intermediate than a beginner, but still depending on what kind of beginner you are. I don't know if I'd recommend this to a child, at least not at this size. As a slang, maybe. But to an adult that's starting out, depending on your level of confidence, I wouldn't think it would be too bad of an idea to start with something like this. This was actually the first species I owned when it came to tarantulas. And I actually did really great with them. Even now, as I've gotten more into the hobby, I'm a lot more advanced now with some of the species that I've gotten. They've still stayed one of my favorites, especially because of the beautiful colors that they have. Which, let me put a little bit of light on her. Yeah, she's got some beautiful blues. Now, I am gonna try to see if I can get her to take one of these babies down. Let me clean these tongues off real quick. I'm gonna have to wash them after that Pangea. So, you can feed them crickets, mealworms, roaches. No, wrong way, girl. Let me try to get something bigger for her. Come on, girl, you got it. Let me see. I just set it down on the web for her. I'm a little disappointed because they usually got a great takedown response, but she might just not be hungry. I've been kind of wondering if she's going into pre-molt lately because of her behavior. So I might be right. She might just be going into pre-molt. But I guess there's always next time. I know that the next one definitely is gonna take some food down. It just molted about a week ago, and it's honestly about time that they have a meal. Which I'm hoping this other one here will too. I actually got 2 species. This one I still need to rehouse. I also picked this up this weekend at the Animal Expo I previously went to. This is a Carabiner versicolor. This is definitely one of the reasons why I want to rehouse it. I don't really like the way they set up the enclosure. They like to climb to the top of their enclosures. They're an arboreal species. You know, they're from obviously the area of the Caribbeans. Well, at least on the South American side, not on the island side. But yeah, you can find them down in various areas in South America. They're a beautiful blue species. They're considered a dwarf tarantula. They look almost like a blueberry, to tell you the truth, when they're babies. As adults, they have a drastic change. You know, but yeah, these are arboreal species, and that's one thing I wanted to actually also talk about because it's something that we deal with a lot in our. Something that we deal a lot with in our. In our extensive collection, not all of them are going to be arboreal, not all of them are going to be fossorial. And this would be an example of a arboreal tarantula. You definitely want to set them up differently due to just the difference in their behavior. Really, buddy? Taking it. This one's not the one that molted. The next one is. I just figured I'd get into it with this one first because of the example I wanted to go with. That one right there is obviously an arboreal species, like I said, and this one here is, I believe, a terrestrial. A terrestrial or a fossorial, I can't necessarily remember, but it is the Theraphosa hypothesis. This one I actually need to rehouse. I was gonna start that earlier, took some of the hides out, and just kind of left the water dish because it did just molt, but I figured I'd leave it like this just to do a quick feeding because it'd be a great way to have a visual of everything for this takedown, because these guys definitely got an amazing feeding response. I expected a little more enthusiasm in there, but I'll take it. Sorry, guy. I meant to set that down in front of you. Oh, I know you want to pick that up. It's one time for the camera? I guess one time for the camera's fine. Do you want it? Because I'm about to take it. No? Okay. Get this back then. Sorry. There you go. But yeah, usually that'll be the response you get from these tarantulas. If they don't, they might be going into pre-molt. But it's really hard to tell sometimes. Sometimes they could just, be in a mood and just not want a meal, and they'll just probably take one next time. So it's always good to double check. If they didn't take a meal this week, just try again next week. If not, just kind of observe them. You'll start to notice once they're deeper into their pre-molt, they'll lose some of their hairs. Their abdomen will start to just be bald and shiny. That's kind of like the dead giveaway, as well as their reclusive behavior, where they'll just kind of keep to themselves. If they're a fossorial species, meaning they'll go underground for their home, as opposed to like up in the trees or build a web. They'll kind of just stay on top of the ground. A lot of them will dig underground. They'll cover their burrow, and they'll just disappear for a good 2 months. You'll sit there feeling like Johnny Depp. I got a job there. Ones that are good web designers, for lack of a better phrase, will tend to build a cocoon. And these right here are a good example of a fossorial species. They tend to burrow underground. If you guys could tell with the green bottle blue, that blue one with the green carapace had a lot of webbing. These obviously do not. These actually we got from, you know what, let me check real quick. But I believe we got them from, you know what? I'm not going to say for sure because I can't remember off the top of my head. But I'll probably tag it in the description of the video. One of our associates, somebody we associate with at the expos. He's a vendor himself. I'd give him a shout out on the video if I could remember off the top of my head. But we just started. We just met with this guy, started associating with him. Gave us a couple free specimens. A really great guy on in general. We'll probably give him a shout out in one of our next videos. But this is something else we've been working on. This right here is a regal jumping spider. We recently had a bunch of both jumping spiders, and we're hoping to expand when it comes to them. A lot of people come in here asking about the jumping spiders, so we're trying to get something a little more exotic, something outside of the bold and the regalis, which is the most common thing you see. Start to bring some jumping spiders with color into our selection, as well as start to bring in some true spiders. This is the first thing when it comes to these true spiders that we've brought in. It's a false widow. This one is gravid, so we're hoping to see an egg sac from her soon. And, you know, start to expand the diversity in our inventory. You know, there's a couple of other species we do have that I didn't showcase, like our day gecko. She's a female. So she was a rescue. She's doing a lot better now. She was a little bit gray, dark when we got her. Now she's got these bright green colors. Wouldn't be the only species we've taken in either, actually. We've taken in a lot of leopard spotted geckos, which we do a lot of work with, as is in general. But, you know, just one thing about us, we're also very open to taking in any animals people may not want. You know, we definitely accept animals as donations. You know, if you guys have something that you just can't take care of, you know, have nobody that will take it in, definitely contact us. We got a page on Facebook, Instagram, you know, and we go to a lot of expos, especially Scott's All Animal Expo down in King County Fairgrounds. So it's just something to, you know, we try to be big when it comes to conservation, not only of endangered species, but of individual animals themselves. You know, we try to make sure that if there's an animal out there that needs a home, we'll try to find one for them, and if we can't, we will give them a home here with us. You know, so it's definitely something that I like to promote. You know, because I want to make sure that, and there's a lot of animals out there in need. You know, I want to make sure that I can do as much as I can, not just in the conservation aspect, when it comes to making sure that endangered species, like some of the Poecilotheria species we have, that are critically endangered, can have a chance to thrive and still be around 20, 30 years down the line in the future, even if it is only in captivity. But that's kind of been it for today. It's a little introduction, giving you guys an idea on what we do, what we're all about. I've been Oscar from Taranaterium, and this has been the zoo that you can take home with you.